My name is Forensic, Eric JT Forensic, and I'm here to teach you how to draft. Today, we're going to do the Cape House floor plan. This is video 4 of the series, step number 3. So if you had completed steps 1 and 2, your floor plan should basically look like this. You got the walls, you got the windows, the doors, you got the kitchen set up, the bathroom set up, and the closets with the shelves and the rods, the staircases, the front porch, and the back porch. So if you have all this, you completed steps 1 and 2, you are ready for step 3. And step 3 is going to be about structure. So to show you why we need to put structure in there, I have some pictures to demonstrate what we're going to do. We're going to put headers on this plan. The headers go above the doors and the window openings. What you're looking at here is a typical framed wall. Framed with either 2x4s or 2x6s usually. This is a 2x4 or 2x6, known as a stud, going up and down inside the wall. The spacing between these typically is 16 inches. So we say that's 16 inches on center. So from the center of one to the other will be 16 inches. So even though there's no scale on this, you could say this to this to this is 16 inches. You could see this gap's a little bit tighter. This one is tighter. So when we run into an opening for a door or window, something else changes, because studs 16 inches on center will have the ability to carry weight from above. So you can put another floor on top of this or a roof, okay? But once you break that rhythm of 16 inches on center, like it's happening here, we need to put a header in. Basically, a header is a bridge. So we need to span this gap right here, either over the door or over the window. Now, it doesn't matter how far away the distance is from the bottom of the window to the floor, or from the bottom of the window to the sill. You're just concerned with how far this distance is. Because once we have this distance, it doesn't matter how much we're trying to fill in here. We're not going to get into calculating actual headers, but I'm just trying to give you a basic understanding of them. So anytime you break up the rhythm of 16 inches on center, like we're doing here, we need to put a header. And different components of the headers to help frame it out are this. We have a stud that's cut below the header, known as the trimmer stud. So that's going to rest on either side, holding up the header in the wall. Alongside of it is a full-length stud known as the king stud. The door rough opening. So what does that mean? So even if we were putting a 2'6" door in here, we would not leave this opening 2'6" wide. We need to make it even bigger than that so that the door can float inside that opening. You want the door to independently be able to come out of the wall without the house collapsing. The door or windows, when you're putting them in, should not be jammed in there so tightly that you're kicking and punching them to try to get them in the opening. If you're doing that, you know something's wrong. It should go into the opening, and there will be a gap around it. The gap lets us make sure that the window or door is perfectly square, perfectly level, so that the window or door will operate correctly. They'll open up and shut correctly. If you notice a window or door in your house that you're always fighting to open or close, most likely it's not square, and that's why you're running into that issue. At the top, we have double top plates, which is basically a 2x4 or 2x6 on the flat. Where they overlap, you do want to overlap them so that gives them strength. So the reason we have 2 is that so we can have a situation like this where one stops and another one starts, and the bottom one now stops and the next one starts and the top one goes across. So that's going to strengthen these two connections here, because you're not going to find 2x4s that can go the full length of the house. Maybe the house is 30 feet. So you're going to have to break it up into smaller increments. That's called the lap double top plate, minimum of 4 feet. Again, I'm not going to get into all this information right now, but I just wanted to give you an understanding of what a header is. So you need them for openings, for doors and windows, or even if it's just an opening, even if there's not a door in the spot, you just have an opening from one room to the next. So that being said, we're going to have this wall coming down the middle is going to be known as the bearing wall. So any opening in this wall is going to need a header. So this opening, over this staircase, right through here, down this hallway, and this doorway. So we'll need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 headers in here. To put the headers in there, we're going to put wood posts. I'm going to go to my other drawing and take my wood post so I don't have to redraw it. All right, so there, I just placed my first header. You're going to draw a box with an X through it. That's going to represent what I was just showing you as far as the trim stud and the king stud. So basically, it's going to be a little bit bigger than reality, but I just made a box 4.5 by 4.5 to take up the wall space right there and put an X through it. So that represents the post alongside holding up the header. That represents these two pieces right here and these two pieces along this side holding up the header. The header is going to be a heavy dark line, and it's going to sit at the end of the box on both sides, and it's going to be a center line type, so it's long, short, long dash. You're going to notify it by saying 2 2x10s. So this will be two pieces of 2x10s, the length to go across the opening. You don't have to put the length on there. They'll figure that out on the job site, but you got to tell them, I need 2 2x10s across this opening. So that would be this right here. These guys could be 2 2x10s. These don't look like 2x10s here, but that's what we're calling out. These look closer, but these don't even look like 2x10s. But there's 2 of them right next to each other. So we did that one opening right there. And to label them, you write WP for wood post, and you put a little arrow next to it. All right, so that one's complete. We labeled the wood post. We showed the wood post with X's through them. We showed the header with a center line type. Make this nice and dark. It's not showing up so much on the AutoCAD, but just please make this dark and label it 2 2x10s. And really the same thing for the next one. So I can copy all this information over to the next one. And the labels. And this label, you can change it up a little bit as long as it's clear. I'm just looking at this sheet that I gave you, and they're both on the top here, but as a drafter, your job is to make the drawings clear. You don't always have to be so constricted to follow exactly what the drawing you're copying is, or even sometimes what your supervisor or boss gave you to draw. If you see, once you get enough experience and you see that you might be able to do something a little bit clearer than has been presented to you, and you do have the authority to do it, you might want to try to do it. But if you're just beginning, more than most likely, you're just going to copy exactly what your supervisor, boss, whatever you want to call them, gave you to do. So that's probably the safer bet. But as you get more experience under your belt, you can start to try to make your own decisions about stuff. Like right here, I'm going to make a decision that I'm going to just use these same posts for another header right here. So I don't have to build another post. I do caution you to try not to right away question everything that the person that has authority on you, over you, is asking you to do. Like sometimes just do what they ask you, even if you don't believe it's the right thing to do. There'll be a chance in the future to question what they're telling you. Sometimes just listen. We all need to learn how to listen sometimes. Even I can use that advice. 2 2x10s, 2 2x10s, 2 2x10s. Put this alongside there. Copy, copy, copy. And put another header here. All right, so we took care of that wall down the middle, known as the bearing wall. So you might hear people talk about this when they're trying to remodel an existing house, existing building. Is this a bearing wall? And what does that mean? That means if I take that wall down, the house could potentially collapse. And honestly, it might not collapse at that second, but over time you might see the floors above sag and things start to go out of whack. It's really not a good practice to take out a bearing wall without putting a header in. What does that mean? So if I decided that we wanted to remodel this house and we wanted to take down this wall right here, we wanted to erase this wall and get rid of this door and everything, we could, okay? What would we have to do though? We would have to put a header coming all the way across. So it would be above our head so we can walk underneath it, but we can walk underneath this, it's going to be above our head, but we'd have to put basically a bridge going from here to here. And the further the distance from here to here, the deeper this bridge is going to be. What does that mean? The further it's going to push down into the room. So you might not have a flat ceiling. It might be a drop right here, but you would still have a flat floor. So you might prefer to have this so the room feels a lot bigger. This wall would not be as difficult. This is not a bearing wall. So if I want to erase that one, that's a lot easier. But what happens then is that I have to make sure that this post, this post is still going to be here. If I decide I don't like this post, what I can do is I can get rid of that post and then bring this header to here. But then guess what? Now I'm going even further. So this header is going to be even bigger, which means deeper. So if the client or the designer doesn't want that, that can be a problem. So these are what we constantly battle as we're trying to design something. How deep is this beam going to be? Is that okay? Can we work into the design, or do we figure out another spot to post it? When you're calculating beams, one of the biggest factors is known as the span. So how far are we spanning? From here to here is 20'9". So it's quite quite a distance. I'll put everything back. There you go. Okay, so that's a bearing wall. This one's not a bearing wall. Bearing wall, if the homeowner decided to just take this down, pretty much they can almost do it in themselves. It wouldn't be the end of the world. All right. Next is we want to put headers over all the windows. So the headers over the windows, headers over the windows are also going to be center lines. So there's going to be one dash, a long, short, long dash. Now, these are going to show up very dark. Now, I know you already have a line down the middle. That line down the middle could stay. These lines are going to be significantly heavier, darker. All right. So make sure you can keep the other one, but just make these dark. And you label the two 2x10s above it. To make this clear, I'm going to get rid of these lines for this. Honestly and truly, if they were there or not, it's not going to make a big difference at a 1/4 inch scale. You're not going to see this kind of detail. But you do want to make sure every opening has the center line, dark center line, and two 2x10s above it. Now the distance past the window is about 4 inches. You don't have to measure this, especially by manual drafting, hand drafting. You could just kind of eyeball it, but it needs to go past the opening. Why? Because we're going to be resting on a wood post. We don't have to exactly put a wood post everywhere. It's kind of understood, but you do have to make sure that the head is longer because it has to rest on the trim and the king stud. Or it rests on the trim and goes to the side of the king stud. Also for the opening for the door, and the roof, there's a roof coming across here. Remember this original drawing? You have this front porch. These are the posts that you drew, all these posts. So this, you're almost seeing the header. Well, you are seeing the header exposed. You're really getting to see it, what's happening. You're seeing the studs or the wood posts along the side, and then the header coming across. And that's carrying the weight of the roof and the ceiling inside the porch. The ceiling right here and the roof of the porch is being supported by this bridge from this post to this post. How do you represent that on the floor plan? Simply put a center line from post to post. Nice and heavy and dark. Let me try to darken this up. That's a little too dark, right? Okay. Polyline, stop point, width 0 or 0.2 and width 0.2. All right, that's a little nicer. That's a little darker. And let's make this 0.5. Actually, pro structure. And line type is center. All right, there you go. So maybe that's a little bit darker. Let me go. So you can see, there you go. That's looking nice and dark. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. Post to post and try to get the center right in the middle. Try to get the the break mark. So long, short, long. Try to get that break right in the middle, nice and uniform. Now, when you get to the steps here, there's no railing, but there is a header because we do have to carry the roof. So don't forget to put this. Some people forget that even though there's no railing, there is a header across the steps there and across all these other ones. And then you go along the side here. And this is going to rest, you know, you can eyeball it, rest into the wall a little bit. If you want to bring it all the way to the end, nobody's going to bite your head off. That's fine. Okay. So let me make these nice and dark too. There you go. And I'll put back that light line. So you could see how you can still have that light line underneath it, but the head is darker. Nice. I'll fix all these windows quick. I was trying to make this video a little bit shorter. Hopefully I'll do that. But I always seem to enjoy myself too much when I get drafting. Not a bad thing. Nice, looking good. Other things you see on here are the structural arrows, which are these things right here. What this is saying, and let me just turn it the other way so maybe it's a little bit easier to read. 2x6 CJ at 16 inches OC. So that's a 2x6. So if you went to the store and you bought a piece of lumber, a 2x6, it's a ceiling joist. So that's a CJ. It's going to be up in the ceiling. Every 16 inches, we're going to put one on center. 2x6 ceiling joist at 16 inches on center. And this is showing us, these arrows are showing us the direction they're going. So I found this picture that's going to show us that. So these are bigger, but let's say this was the 2x6. These look like 2x10s, maybe 2x8s. So these are 2x6s, every 16 inches away from each other. Okay, and then it's showing us which direction they're going. Okay. So you don't have to draw each one when you're drawing a floor plan. You put these arrows on there. 2x6 ceiling joist at 16 inches on center, and 2x8 roof rafters. RR is roof rafters at 16 inches on center. So you have a ceiling on the porch and that roof coming across the porch, like you saw in this isometric. Here's the roof, and then you don't see the ceiling so much in this, but the ceiling across the porch, and the roof goes up this way. So to show all that, all you have to do is these arrows. Now you might ask, how far is this? This is about 8 inches, that arrowhead, and about an inch and a half this way. Inch and a half by 8. And it's only like one-sided on this way, and then one-sided on the bottom. If you see that detail right there. You might find on your templates some little arrowheads that'll help you do that quickly. Don't go too nuts about it, but there you go. The other ones are these. These are representing the floor joists. 2x10 floor joists, FJs, at 12 inches on center. So they're even closer to each other than the 16. because it's a pretty big distance. So the closer they are, the stronger the floor is going to be. And to make the floor even stronger, we're going to bridge at 1/3 points. So what does that mean? That's what you see right here. These are bridging, sometimes known as cats. What these are doing is connecting one floor joist to the other, and it's making it stronger. Because the floor joist by itself is pretty strong, but it gets a lot stronger once you tie it to the one next to it. So it all works as a team. So if you think of this floor joist divided into 3 equal parts, that's where you put the cats. 2x10 floor joist at 12 inches on center, bridge at 1/3 points. And I said to go 2'6" off this wall. Now that's nothing really, honestly, tied to exactly how they're going to build this 2'6" distance off this wall. That's just so that, I know you're drafting this by hand. I hate for you to put this in a spot where later on you have to move it because something else is going there. So that's the only reason that this 2'6" is here. And you're not going to write this dimension on the drawing. It's just so you know where you draw these arrowheads is in the right spot. Basically, getting the same note over here. It's also 2'6" away. And in the back, 2x10 floor joists. And this we can get away with 16 inches on center. Remember this one I said was 12 inches on center because we're going a greater distance. And what's the distance? We're going from here to here, which is 15'1" from the front wall to the bearing wall. This, we're going from here to here, or we are also going from here to here, but that's even still shorter, 13'10" than the 15'1", okay? It would be a good practice to go right to here, not to the closet wall when you're framing this out, so that they could take out the closets for some reason if they were redesigning the house. Some people don't always think about that, but it depends on what you want to think about. I think honestly that's pretty much. Make sure you put the headers on the back windows the same as we did the front windows. The side windows here, label them. And that's about all. If you did not already, please hit subscribe to my YouTube channel. And please hit the like button if you like this video. Leave comments, anything that you would like me to cover, or you just want to tell me I'm great, thank you. And keep an eye out for my next video. And thank you.